Today on Drawbli, we are drawing
Ghibli-inspired scenes.
Click that subscribe button if you are new around here, and leave us a comment down below for a suggestion of something that we could draw in the future.
Yeah, we love your suggestions. So Ben, tell me about this scene that you've chosen to try to emulate.
Well, it went absolutely terrible.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true.
No, it's not. It didn't go absolutely terrible. So here's what I tried to do for mine. I tried with first starting off with a realistic photo, which is on the top there.
That's a good place to start.
And then I just tried to block in those shapes. And then what I tried to do later on is take the style of this artist down below, which had kind of this Ghibli-esque kind of feel. Not quite, but it's for some game called Palia. I'll put the artist down in the description because I can't remember their name. But either way, so I tried to apply that style to the image later on, and I had some mixed success. It was a little more than I was prepared to undertake.
That is so funny that we had identical journeys in terms of a little more than we were prepared to undertake.
Well, I have seen how yours turns out, so I know that it does turn out well.
Well, I guess, but when you see what I was referencing, which I don't have on screen because I believe I've kind of adopted a workflow now when I record sometimes
to record with it up on the screen,
like
on a computer
up on a
screen
PC
or something.
Screen, which maybe I should modify because isn't it kind of fun?
You print it out in full color and hold it next to your iPad.
Do you think it's more fun though to see the reference up on the screen as we go?
Oh no, I don't think it matters either way. Like, you just popped up the image right there, so we can. Ba-doing.
Yeah, so
Beautiful
this is a work of art by a gentleman on YouTube.
A gentleman on YouTube.
A gentleman on YouTube. That's not his handle, but it's a pretty good one. Anyway, it's not a tutorial that he posted. It was more of a sped up workflow, which I proceeded to watch at a 0.25 speed.
Very nice.
To try to pick up on it. And I only realized halfway through I was still listening to like his voice and ambient music.
In 0.25 speed? Oh my god, that's gotta be terrifying.
But I kind of tuned into it, and I was like, it was my vibe after a while.
The creepy
just
vibe.
Listen to the
So tell me in slow-mo about what you're doing right now, because I just saw you start making all these shapes and then you restarted.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to block in the shapes for these trees. Compositionally, he has like an arch of trees, and then he proceeds to add a little village. Now, his is many hours of work and many years of experience, sped up pretty quickly, and I have 1 hour of work and less than that of experience.
And some hours of experience.
Yeah, so mine definitely didn't end up looking terribly finished. But I did feel like I was starting to learn a little bit, and I enjoyed his composition that he chose with this arch of trees. So I felt like at least my takeaway was I learned a little bit more about composition. And he said, I have whole videos on painting clouds, and I have this whole opinion on it. I didn't watch those.
And we gotta check out these clouds.
Clouds pretty hard.
Clouds hard.
Yeah.
Clouds are fun though.
They are fun. So I do end up adding clouds, but a lot of it just goes into the whimsical nature of this village.
Now
I'm
gonna take a shot in the dark here because I can't remember exactly what my clouds look like at the finished result, but I do remember being kind of happy with how the clouds turn out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Just a little.
Yeah, it'd be something interesting to explore more. There's a lot of variance in how people do clouds. Like I see in your reference, the clouds have a lot of defined edges, but still look really fluffy. I think that is such a hard
They get better.
Concept.
They get better
to
than
grasp.
they are right now.
They're
I will
surprisingly difficult thing to paint and to represent.
I don't know why, but I pretty much used this one brush for most of this painting.
What brush was it?
It's this hard paint brush. It's kind of similar to a syrup brush. I can't remember exactly whose custom brush it is, but it's just like a hard brush essentially that does not change size or opacity. It like doesn't react to pressure sensitivity at all.
It's got some like texture on the edges, it looks like.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't?
No. No texture. That's why it's called hard paint. It's just like really hard edge, very solid color. And for some reason, that's what I used for this whole thing. I will say that it was kind of like a voyage of discovery where I kind of found So like I started off with the realistic image, right? And from there, like I slowly started to edit or audit like stuff out of this image. So like I, changed how many houses were in it. I changed kind of the shape of the mountains later on. But I really liked this pathway that I put at the bottom, which is like somewhat in the original, but I exaggerated a lot, and I end up making it like, I try to make it like the centerpiece for the image later on. Because I thought it was really cool. It helped like lead your eye through the
Oh yeah,
environment.
absolutely. That's cool. And I feel like using that hard brush is very on brand for you.
Wow.
And kind of the style you choose. You are very defined in your shapes and your colors and values. You don't do a lot of soft edges.
But yeah, I like using hard shapes just because they're easier to define, and then you can kind of go back and smooth them later. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I kind of like the idea of smudging later on.
No, that's who you are as a sculptor too. You block things in, very blocky. You define your angles and points and your breaks, and then you go back and smooth it out.
Not always. Like in sculpture, I'm just very controlled of my forms in general. I kind of use that illustration to help other people kind of understand what's going on. Because curved shapes are really kind of complicated to create in 3D. So I use that to kind of like help teach other people. But once you kind of get the hang of it and you know what you're doing, you don't necessarily need to use that as I don't want to say crutch, but you don't need to necessarily use that technique anymore. So what's going on over here with your clouds? You mentioned that this guy had a lot of videos on clouds.
Well, he mentioned that he had a video on clouds, which I didn't watch. But no, I was just trying to block in clouds. I play here with the shape.
I like your little bushes. Those are really cool.
Well, yeah, they're going to be more than just bushes, though.
You got a lot of texture going on.
Tall trees. That, I feel like, was the brunt of the part of the video I watched. I don't even think I watched the video or drew alongside the video all the way to the end, because by the end, he was getting really detailed, and I was getting pretty fried. My brain, oh my gosh. This seems so simple, but I was...
What are you doing over here? You're just squashing this every which way?
Composition, yeah. Like, I'm trying to find a
So you didn't copy this person's exact image, is that...
No, it's. I don't think I could have. I think that was beyond me to copy his exact image. I tried to follow along as best I could,
You just squashed and stretched those green tree bush shapes about 100 times, and then you put them right back where you had them.
I did.
So please explain to me your thought process going into that. I would love to just take a step behind the curtain.
Once I compared all the different ways it could be, I realized I was right the first time.
You had it perfect. Right
it was, as you eloquently phrased it before, a voyage of discovery, which I like that phrase,
Thank
by the
you.
way.
It was the name of a class I took in college, an honors class, actually, and it could count towards
so
gen
honorable.
eds. Yeah, it was very honorable. It was a very cool class. I learned a lot in that class.
What was so the class was called Voyage of Discovery?
A Voyage of Discovery, that's right, yeah. Taught by this person, whose name I will not say.
What did you learn in that class? What did they try to teach you?
It's kind of hard to describe, and I don't think that I could probably describe it in a short amount of time.
Really?
But we went on lots of trips to places like Mammoth Cave. We even got to go to a part of Mammoth Cave. If you don't know, Mammoth Cave is the largest? No, not largest, but longest cave system in the entire world. And it's very close to Cincinnati, which is where we live. But yeah, read a ton of books in this class, had to write a ton of papers. It was not an easy class by any means, but it definitely was a strange and different class. I would say, in general, it was a class about learning how to learn.
I love that.
I don't really even know how I could describe it, but it was, a general education course that you could take to fulfill some credit hours.
It sounds awesome. That sounds like a really fun class.
So it's like, hey, do you want to take this generic writing course, or do you want to take Voyages of Discovery?
I know which one I would choose.
You have to take one, so...
I want to choose the one that sounds like summer camp.
yeah.
But it sounds like it was a lot harder than summer camp.
It was actually a really unique class, and because of that, the people in the class were actually really close. Like, it was a really tight-knit group.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a lot of people remained friends for years after.
Are you still friends with people from that class?
Not really. I'm not really friends with anyone.
Yeah, you're not a friend again now.
No, I'm not. I don't really have a ton of well, I don't want to say I don't have a ton of friends from college, but, you know, you meet so many people in college. But I feel like that's a misnomer because I do have a lot of friends from college. And
we're always running into your friends from college, actually. I feel like, oh, there's so-and-so, yeah.
Good old so-and-so. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Great guy.
Tell me more about what you're doing with your oranges and yellows and bright colors over here.
Oh, yeah. I'm just trying to learn from this guy as I went along. I don't remember his name. It's in the description. Check it out. So is his. I post a link to his video, too. It's very long. I'm just trying to emulate still what I'm seeing. Not so much that I know what I'm doing with it, besides adding some texture to the trees, but
cool.
Hoping to, learn something along the way, even if I don't know that I'm learning as I go, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So even here, I feel like we're already almost hitting the point where past this point, I don't think I add too much in terms of finished appearance to this piece, if you will.
So, like, this is it? This is the end? We're already done? We're already finished?
No, I added these little
Mine really
houses.
doesn't change too much from where it is now. It's more of just, like, me trying to polish and clean things up and make it better.
Yeah. It's just so interesting. I mean, so much of what I'm learning through what we've been doing is about environments and landscapes. They are not something I've ever sat there and idly experimented with and drawn like I've drawn, characters and faces for fun. So everything when it comes to environments is a learning curve, especially how long it takes to create them. They are not quick. For as much as they're like the background in so many things, they take a long time to create to a good level of satisfaction.
Yeah, on like animated films, on television, like cartoons on TV, background artist is a literal position where someone's job or multiple people's job is literally just to create the backgrounds where the animated characters will, like the scenes where they will exist.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like it's a whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it, and I feel like I struggle a lot more. There I go, making some more fluffy clouds. I struggle a lot more trying to do things with environment. Just, I think because of perspective and a couple other fundamentals that I'm weaker at, which is kind of why I've been actually enjoying doing environments a little more, just because I like to try to find those areas where I'm maybe not as good, and I can try to like improve upon those. But trying.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of Drawbli.
I mean, it feels so good, though, to tackle something new that I'm totally unexperienced in and to learn about it. I think that's something I miss from being in school is just challenging your brain to the point where your nerves in your brain, your neurons fry out and fizzle out, and you have to put it down and say, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted and I've barely moved a muscle.
Well, you said that happened with this artwork. Speaking of these artworks, do you feel like you really nailed the Ghibli style?
No.
Why not?
Ghibli work to me is very clean and very finished, but at the same time very detailed.
Yeah, it often is very detailed.
Yes, but very intricate too. I don't know.
Those are synonyms, Abby.
Oh, that's true. Well, you could have something that's very... Oh, I guess you're right. I don't know what I'm trying to convey here, but there's a lot of pieces.
I don't remember where I heard this, but somebody described the Ghibli style as being, very detailed, very precise, but then on top of that precision and detail, there is this very simple style. And it's like this almost a weird like dichotomy between the two that end up creating that iconic, bright, colorful
right, because
style.
That level of detail you'd think would lend itself a lot more towards realism, but it's definitely not realism. I mean, you don't look at a Ghibli movie and think, oh, this is some attempt at realism. It's not, but it looks so good.
So I see you're putting in some houses over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my original reference has houses. He has a whole village.
Whole village?
Detailed houses and detailed little walls and stones. Like I said, I did not make it to the end of his video. It was actually a several hour long video that I
And you were
slowed
watching
down.
it on 0.25 speed.
I'm pretty
That's
sure
amazing.
it was. At least that's how I remember it now.
So you've been watching a lot of tutorials and videos and stuff like that. Do you feel like that has been helping you a lot more than just kind of, not playing around in the dark necessarily, but having some form of extra guidance, let's call it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. If nothing else, just to learn more about workflow and seeing so many different artists and seeing what they all do similarly and how some of them deviate from that. It hasn't necessarily given me the skills to use those workflows incredibly effectively myself, but I feel like I'm getting slowly more familiar with the digital artist workflow.
Yeah, so for me, I've been doing digital work for a very long time, even before I was into digital sculpting. So, I've been using Photoshop forever, longer than I can remember. So, well, that's not true. But I've been using it for a long time. So, for me, stuff that I take for granted as obvious, you're like, oh, what, wait, what? How did you do that? I just created a reflection of the, mountains and sky on my water. And for me, I'm like, oh, this is something I've done a million times for graphics for, web or whatever, a simple reflection. But you're like, oh, I might maybe need a rundown on how you did that.
Oh yeah, I saw that and have copied that in a tutorial, but until I had seen that tutorial, I would not really have known the quickest or the most efficient way to start or try or go about it. Now I know, but only because, I've sought out extra materials lately, not any ingrained or old knowledge of how these systems work.
So I mentioned earlier that I used a hard brush for pretty much all of this. It looks like you've used some kind of very soft texture. Did you do that intentionally, or is that just kind of what you gravitate towards?
I definitely gravitate towards texture. I think a lot of this, I actually used a chalk brush because it has a little bit of opacity in it. I was, again, just trying to emulate what I was seeing in the video up till this point. He still had things very, very sketchy, and so do I. And then I fast forwarded and found out he adds a lot of detail later on. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So everything on mine is left pretty sketchy.
Well, we do have we have a hard time limit of how long we can work on these of 1 hour. So,
yeah. But I feel like that's really appropriate for us at the level we're at. What is the term?
Sometimes
diminishing returns?
Diminishing returns, yes. There are some things I feel like where I'm like, oh, I could work on this and improve it by polishing it, but those are kind of few and far between. And to be completely honest, I don't really think that polishing is necessarily difficult or that you necessarily learn a ton from it. Now, I won't say that you don't learn anything from it, because I absolutely do think you can learn from pushing yourself beyond what you've been capable of in the past by doing that extra little bit, just stretching yourself. I think there's something to be gained from that. But in terms of polishing something up for us, I could have spent another 3 hours on this thing after my 1 hour timer, and I don't think it would have been that much improved.
I love what you're doing with the colors, though, finding a good color balance.
Yeah, I enjoy going in and just playing around with some sliders, and then I very carefully play with opacity and some other stuff. So intentionally, I'm going in and making it more saturated. There is my finished Ghibli.
I love the colors. I love the start, we've learned that to do anything super finished with this would take a lot of time. But yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I actually love yours. It's just cool. It's just actually really good.
Thank you.
Mine looks like a crayon drawing from a child, and yours looks like an actual artwork.
Like a crayon drawing by an 11-year-old.
Yes.
Yours is well, I don't know. No. I don't think an 11-year-old.
No, I actually like yours. I like yours a lot. I think yours is really good. Yours is cool.
I like
mine
yours too.
Mine is not.
No, I think you learned something. You could tell that it was a learning experience for both of us. It was really fun.
Well, hey, click that subscribe button if you want to be notified of future videos.
And leave a comment below if you have any ideas for something we could try in the future.
And this is the part where we say...
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. I love yours. Yours is actually really, really good.
Thanks. I want to live in the little house on the top.
I want to live in the tree.
In the tree.
Yeah.
You can do that.